Hey everybody, Texas Stroker here in Lance's Performance Shop, Lone Star Mopars.com. Saturday night, 10:30 or something like that. As you can see, hoodie season has returned here. We just did a DRPD haul. I've kind of moved some of that stuff because I never know what order the videos will get released. This stuff, this series, the Mac tool haul, which was promised at 7,500 subscribers, I've attempted to make happen for quite some time. I still don't have my first round of tools. I've since filmed another one where we brought in, I guess I can tell you, the anti-vibe hammers and pry bars. Still can't talk about the first one because I might wind up having to release them out of order or something. But something that I wanted, and I fully intended to buy off the truck and try to work some deal with a couple other ratchets, which I finally gave up on in part because of a sale, is this. That's right, we're going to throw that down right there. If you think, hey, that looks like a Roto Head Ratchet, just like these. It is. Although Mac, they would technically call this a swivel head with a bi-material handle. I believe the KTCs are 72 tooth. I also believe that's what these Tektons are. The Tekton is my only half-inch that I've got here at the house, it's swivel head. And it's a deal where I'm always kind of wondering what's out there that might be better. Half-inch, I'm typically not super worried about compact nature. This is either going to be a deal where I'm going to get sold on Mac swivel heads and maybe get the whole set and replace the Tektons, or move the Tektons to work, or maybe take the Macs to work and leave the Tektons here. We just kind of have to see how things pan out. But what happened, aside from having an innate difficulty in getting Mac trucks to actually come by in the actual truck to work so I can purchase things from them that aren't just ordered, I ran into a deal. I'm on Mac's email list, got a deal. They have an NHRA promotion going on right now, top 10 tools from the track. This was luckily for us on the list. It was 10% off, and I just said, you know what, screw it. So, like I said, I had planned to have, I'm not going to say what all in this video, but multiple ratchets from Mac, at least two, probably more than this, possibly more than two, who knows. Sort of depended on what I was, able to swing with the dealer. And when this came up 10% off, I just said, you know what, screw it. Plan is, if I like this thing, we'll come in, and at that point in time, I'll just negotiate 1/4 and 3/8 plus whatever else I want to get off the truck at the time. But for all intents and purposes, this little gem is $185, which seems quite high, considering this is not American made. There's no, factory in Fort Worth cranking these out. These are Taiwanese. Not that there's anything wrong with Taiwanese tools. That's what these are. They've held up great. The Pittsburgh ones, I'm sure a ton of you have with green handles. You probably had those for a really, really a lot of time. And with this, it's not too terribly different. Aside from it says Mac, it's got 100 tooth, which should be better. I'm hoping I like the selector switch better. And who knows, maybe we'll like the handle or the grip. But right here on the bi-material handle, you can see Mac tools, red and black. That's it. There's no other color. That's one thing you got to give Snap-on and matte coat the edge. Mac is slowly bringing green and orange into the fold. But no blue, no purple, no high-vis, nothing like that. They're sort of more generic. These are our colors. Take it or leave it. And what's sad is something like this that's sourced from Taiwan. That would be so easy for them to do. And it's not going to add to the price, even though Mac typically tacks a little bit on. The anti-vibe hammers, they've recently started doing those in color. And I'm talking very, very minimal color. Okay, and they're actually charging a bit more for them. So I guess maybe it's just a quantity deal. They're waiting to see how they take off. But yeah, you'll note the handle versus this Tekton is eerily similar. The length is actually shorter, which is strange. I guess if we get him up here, maybe the Tekton is just a smidge longer because of the hanging hole. Again, you would kind of think the hanging hole might be a selling point for Mac. Tekton, I've still never used their warranty. People say it's super easy. Take a picture. They send you a new tool. This, to be fair to, one of the guys that stops by, he's like, hey man, anything goes wrong, I got you. So I assume I could get it replaced fairly easily. Might have to wait, depends if he has it on the truck or not. But right here, well, that's kind of your quick still in perfect condition. I do like, to their credit, that Mac is printed on both sides, as you can see. With a Tekton or Pittsburgh, you don't have that. It's not a huge deal. As you can see, it comes off anyway. But initial impression, that's cool. I'll give them credit. Right up here on this side, we got nothing. Over here, we've got Mac and the part numbers, so they at least add that in for you. Note that it is a quick release. Unlike the Tekton, where you have the left, the right, I'm sure some have on and off, and it's sort of like a fratzog, you know, sort of like a long, elongated triangle. See, sometimes this, yeah, the one thing on this half-inch, the other sizes don't do it, but like it's a long way to go to change direction, and sometimes it just freewheels like that for several. Yeah, you can see why I was interested in possibly upgrading, hopefully based on that. And that's not intentional, that's just, it does that. It doesn't do it every time. Yeah, I might go and switch directions, you know, through 2 projects, no issues, and then the next time I grab it, boom, it's doing that again. This one is sort of more of like a radioactive type of a design. I will say it's pretty easy to get in there, and currently I'm not having to go near to the lengths I am to change it, but I'm going to keep this in the same position with my thumb here, and I'm going to use this one to articulate it awkwardly, and I just want you to pay attention to how far it goes. Okay, over to there, and then again the one under the index finger. It doesn't ever seem to like go without moving a little. I guess it's just the nature of the beast, but it is what it is. Biggest selling point, aside from if you care about the colors or the brand, is just 72 tooth there, 100 tooth here. What does that mean? 4.5 swing arc versus what? 360, 100, move the decimal, 3.6, right? I do like the quick release on these. That's kind of a undersold statement, but watch this as we go. 1, 2. So again, once you kind of get used to coking stuff, man, you know, everything's kind of like, wow, really? But it's not egregiously bad, especially for a roto head. But it is, you know, there's a good chunk of play we're having to go through there. For comparison's sake, we'll take the Tekton here. I don't know how this anvil stays this clean, because this gets used a ton. The 3/8 and the quarter look way worse than this, and I think this one gets used the most out of the 3. But right here we'll go. I almost feel like there's less backlash with the 72. Like, if you pay attention to the peak right here, and we just made our turn, I'm going to go back. Again, don't watch my fingers, but pay attention to where that peak stops. We'll now do the same thing here with the Mac. Let's actually get the ball detent up there kind of in a similar position. So again, I really think there is, sadly. Again, I don't stand to make a dime if you buy this, or if you buy Tekton, or if you buy Harbor Freight. I just show you what I've got and what it does. Now, we learned, you know, I always do this, and you think, oh, that's really stupid, a waste of time, not going to watch this, but with this beautiful, at least to me, I love so many things about this Duralast encapsulated ratchet. Putting the sockets on there, woo, that changed things. If you missed that video, check it out to see what I'm talking about. But that's why it's important that we check this out. Before we jump into it, let's take a look at the Tekton head. Alright, we will zoom in. You can see it's kind of got the bell curve there, but again, it's for the most part squared off, true 90 degrees from the anvil down. I guess the anvil looks a little dirtier here. That one angle we had, it was like looking mint, like brand new type of a thing. But right here is what we're concerned about. Let me see if I can get this without knocking stuff off. With that Duralast, where this center punch is, and that's like a flush 90 here, come down 90 degrees out, there was that little design that went like this, sort of, I'm exaggerating it, but it was a hill. And that caused the sockets to not seat properly. Granted, those weren't quick release, that might have helped them there, but with this, I can come in, and let's just take this Proto. I did try to be fair to Mac and get their own brand. So keep in mind, this is the Tekton that we have. So That's not great, but again, it's quick release, and it's sort of stopping. But it's going to hold, and it's not a big deal, right? So that's a win. We're going to come over here to the Mac. To keep in mind, this is Proto USA. So, before we jump into that, let's spin this. I do think this is executed a little bit better in terms of the anvil. I think it's going to retain the socket a little. That's not a problem. The Tekton was not a problem. It's just a deal where it could have been better. I think this is going to be better than that. I still kind of think the 72 somehow had less backlash. Let's get this on. Alright, here we go. It's a moment of truth. Again, that's just slop between the socket and the detent. So again, like right here, I'm going to go one click from the ball. And look at, the play is what you try to showcase here. It's not a huge deal, again, particularly with half, but the reason it's of particular interest to me, aside from making a video, I have this as my guinea pig. If I like this, I buy 2 more ratchets, 1/4 and 3/8. If I don't like this, we're not about to shell out that kind of money for those 2 ratchets. So that's important. Maybe if you start with a 1/4, it's a little bit more cleaner. 3/8 might be more refined. But right now I have to start with a 1/2, and that's a considerable jump. Okay, let's jump back over here to Tekton land. Get the ball detent around. Stick it on where you can see it. Alright, here we go. I was going to say neither one is great. They're both totally functional, that's the main thing, in all honesty, but when you have to come in and try to rank things or figure out which one's better, these are your initial tests. Now, in real-world use, the Mac might actually be more backlash than the Tekton. I might like the feel of the Mac. I might think it's more balanced. It may not slip on me as much. There's all sorts of things that can change. Where this excels versus this might excel in 4 other criteria that are more important to you, so take it all with a grain of salt and what's important to you. But we'll come in now, and we've got Koken. Let's go ahead and get the anvil back in an orientation we prefer. We'll take this. I'm an idiot, I grabbed 3/8. My apologies. Okay, we'll go with Wright. So this is a big old 1.25" honker that we got. Pretty good fitment there. And again, this you're thinking like, oh dude, you're using impact sockets on this. Here's the thing, for a lot of people, particularly on a budget, there is nothing wrong with your 1/4, your 3/8, your setup with your chromies. 1/2 inch, you might do a deal where 6-point sockets are entirely impact rated, until you got the bank or, the desire, or there's a great deal that comes along. Then 12-point, you could keep for chrome sockets type of a scenario. So I always, just because again, a lot of people, you're going to come in, and if you had to buy chrome or impact sockets, I'm talking extreme budget across the board, people are going to start with impact sockets because they're just, guess it depends what you're doing, but anything with like the need for power tools, be they air, pneumatic, or cordless, you're probably going to start here. So yeah, I'm not... I think the thing with me is when this was 100 tooth, I was expecting a notable improvement. I was thinking, okay, 72 tooth to 100, 0.9 degrees swing arc gone. It's going to be an upgrade across the board. Like, it's, yeah. This is the type of thing, like, I think in a couple of years when people want to pay for it or the price comes down from the OEMs making this stuff in Taiwan, you're probably going to see the Jungle Site, Tekton, Capri, Harbor Freight. They're probably all going to have 100 tooth Roto Head Ratchets here coming up. And I would not at all be surprised if they perform exactly like this one. And what's going to suck is if you actually prefer the 72 tooth. So right here, this is definitively a 1/2 inch drive. We've got a Gedore here. This is 3/4. Man, I do love these sockets. Let's put her on. That fitment is much, much nicer. Again, 3/4, a little bit more in respect here to the ratchet. The main thing is just the kick I'm not impressed by that. I don't think this is a terrible ratchet. It's just, this is kind of what I expect from the Tekton or the Pittsburgh, right? I kind of had higher hopes for the Mac one. It is what it is, right? You can kind of do what you can do, but I will say this. Let's take a look here. Again, if we ignore the hanging hole, which I think is changing the OAL, I think this is like same factory on these. If the Mac had a hanging hole, I think these would be identical lengths. Since this one does and that one doesn't, you can see. But keeping in mind that this handle is longer than, you know, it would be because of the hanging hole, the Mac actually has more material. So if I come in right here real quick for you, I've got a battery light flashing, sadly. This is going to be about 11.5, whereas this guy is going to clock in at 12, so it's a 1/2 of an inch difference. Pay attention to this, though. If we assume this is flush with the handle there, I'm going to call that, man, what? We'll just be generous and say 4.5 is a little under that. And then here on the Mac, look at that. We're going to line that up as best we can. It's closer to 5, probably more like a little north of 4 3/4. I'm sure it's some metric measurement. But there is actually more material on this handle. It's a longer handle. What do I always complain about? Think back this KTC. I wish, particularly being 12 inches long, the handle wasn't based off of that one. I wish that it went up farther. So when we grab the Tekton, which again, this is here because it's going to correlate to a bunch of your stuff, the width here in the bulb is big enough. It kind of offsets my complaints, but you can see the thumb is still landing on the shaft. With the Mac, look where my thumb's wanting to go. It's wanting to go onto the thumb pad. This is a better handle. Okay, so I think the mechanisms, despite this being 100 tooth, are really pretty close. The handles, obviously, it's a game of inches, but like this is going to fit what I want better than this style, and that's at least a win, especially when you're spending $185. Granted, with the discount, knock off 18, so it's like $166. That's a whole lot of money for a roto head. Your basic only justification for that is if you've used this in person with someone else in the shop or a friend, or this is your jam, this is your color scheme at your favorite tool truck. For everyone else, your only real justification that I can think of would be lifetime warranty, and you've got a great dealer, and you know he keeps them on the truck, and you use it all the time. Otherwise, you kind of have a hard time, you know, justifying that jump, right? Like, especially when you can get 3 of these, 1/4, 3/8, and 1/2, for fractions of this discounted 10% off price. But right here, one of the things that genuinely, at least for me, is a big improvement is the handle design. And it's, you can see my thumb is just naturally going where it was designed to go, and it's not resting up here on the handle where it's not as comfortable, which defeats the purpose of having the frickin' 2-component handle, right? So I do like that better. This is not a bad mechanism. It's just not quite the leap forward I thought it would be. And again, if I could have been on the truck to grab this and put it in hand, I would have known that before purchasing it, and I probably wouldn't have purchased it. But I'm bringing it in blind off the internet because there's 10% and you've been wanting to try it. It is what it is. And I'll tell you, it probably seems like we're being a little too harsh. I think it's going to be good. These, as cheap as people may think they are from Tekton or Harbor Freight, they're pretty freaking good little roto ratchets. Again, I use roto, not swivel head, just personal preference, but I do think we're going to like this thing. It's just not quite as good as I thought it would be. It's not just that it says Mac, it's that we're going from 72 tooth to 100. There's obviously some design changes here with the mechanism and everything. I thought across the board it would have been an improvement. It looks like I will definitely like this better. It may be a smidge heavier, maybe about the same. I'm not going to take the time to scale them unless you really want me to. But they both just have more slop than I would like, and I'm more forgiving of this because A, it's used, B, it's an older design, and C, it's 72 versus the 100 here, which I would expect to be more of a leap forward. So yeah, ultimately now what has to happen? I just need to use it. I need to confirm like, hey, that handle really is way nicer. I prefer it a lot. Yeah, you know, the handle's better, but I honestly kind of think this 72 tooth mechanism was more up my alley. Whatever it may be, we just need seat time to determine everything that we can't check here on the bench. So my advice, like I said, unless you have to have the 100, if you care about specs on paper, you're going to go this route because it's a 100 tooth versus 72. If you love the color, if you think, man, he's right, that handle's perfect, it's a big jump to spend that much money for the handle, or even the color or the brand. But like I said, maybe you can swing a deal with your dealer. Maybe you find one online that was like probably stolen and is sold for way, way, way less. Pawn shops type of thing, similar story most of the time, sadly. Maybe go that route. At the 185 mark, I almost feel like I would be disingenuous to not steer you towards a 3-piece set of these from anywhere, okay? Like, if this was a little bit tighter and cleaner of a mechanism, I'd say like, hey, that's a huge jump. But you could easily argue it's worth it. I can't easily argue. I can argue this is worth the jump, but not easily. 100% just being genuine with you there. So if you love Mac, if you love red and black, if you love paper specs, this is superior. Otherwise, maybe save your money and like buy another ratchet, you know, type of a thing, or some sockets, maybe some wrenches, I don't know. But, ultimately, that's the bench impression here. Now, once we've had this thing a couple of months or a year or two, and I can be like, man, you know, I really do like that thing, or, you know, this piece went out, and I've now had this for 6 years, which is, you know, 2 years longer than this one. Whatever, we can make that assessment. We just have to have the time with the tool before we can pass judgment. Bench impression, I kind of like everything better on it. I just don't know that I can justify it costing that much more than a 3-piece set of these. You know what I mean? So if Mac offered this in blue or black chrome or orange, you know, I'd factor that in, but it's still at that price point, kind of crazy territory. But if you use this a lot, again, I've covered ad nauseum, you know, with these KTCs even. I love a roto head because I'll drive things down. I can go way faster with it, just spinning it, getting it down, and then we'll come in, put the extension, go to town. You save a little bit of time there. It sort of depends what you're doing. Some people hate that style of work. Some people prefer it. You're ultimately either a roto head person or you're not. Me personally, I am. It's sort of like a speed handle minus the funky shape, and it's more efficient because you're not pulling your extension and stuff off, or taking that one off, grabbing the socket, putting it on a straighter locking extension. It's just one tool does it all. Again, these also work as a nut driver. Obviously, 1/4 and 3/8 would be better suited to that. You know, you can totally do it here. It's just, you know, not the best selection of tools, if you will. But for me personally, I do like the looks of it. I'd prefer different colors. I like the upgrade in the head, although it's super similar in performance to the 72. The main selling point for me is the handle, and just that I've wanted to try this. And you get a video out of it, so that's that. With that said, I better call this before the battery completely dies. So I hope you enjoyed. What I want to know from you and how you can help. Anyone watching this that is interested in either of these ratchets is looking for first-hand feedback that I can't provide because this is brand new out of a package. Okay. If you have used Mac Roto ratchets, how long have you used them? How do you like them? How have they held up? Are you like warranting it for the 4th time and it's junk and you'd never advise it? Is it easily your favorite? What did you have prior? Tekton, Pittsburgh, you know, brands C3 through C17 on Amazon. Give people perspective. Let them kind of know what you're doing, and that will ultimately help people make their decision if they should spend the money or get a set and save money. Like I said, my honest opinion, outside of you're a Mac super fan, red and black is your jam, paper specs, I'd almost tell you buy a 3-piece set, take the savings and get yourself something else, you know. But That's just me. Like I said, over time, maybe it'll change, but these do have quite a bit of use on them, you know, these 3 Tektons, so there is that. But like I said, your expert opinion there, more first-hand experience with this tool will help people out, so if you've got it, feel free to leave it down below in the comments section. Always appreciated. With that said, LoneStarMopars.com is the website. You can find us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, all 3 at Lone Star Mopars. With that said, I do hope you enjoyed. If you have not subscribed, I encourage you to do so. If you jump your Charger across a creek, swing your Mac Roto Ratchet in one hand, the Tekton in the other, and can blindfoldedly tell the difference which is 100 tooth and which is 72 tooth, YouTube just might notify you that we got new videos every Wednesday and Saturday, 9 a.m. Texas time. With that said, thanks again for watching. Hope you have yourself a fantastic week. Most importantly, I hope I catch you back here for more action from the shop.